It's time now for Tech 24, and Anthropic has a new AI model so dangerous they won't release it publicly. It's potentially raising alarms from Wall Street to Canada and further around the world. Joining me now in the studio is Charlotte Lamb to help break it all down for us. So why is Anthropic holding back Mythos?
Well, it was just in January that Anthropic CEO wrote this around 15,000-word essay talking about the serious civilization challenge that AI poses, calling it one that will require society to take significant action, saying that tech giants and itself Anthropic will have to be transparent, do things the right way, it said, and perhaps he is now making good on this promise because just earlier this week, Anthropic did launch its most powerful model to date. It's called Claude Mythos Preview, but it stopped short of any public release. The reason is that it can do something no previous AI model has done at this scale. Now, Mythos is a general purpose AI model that Anthropic says significantly outperforms prior offerings. It can scan the code that runs the world's software. So that's operating systems, web browsers, financial infrastructure, and it can find those hidden flaws that hackers often exploit. The company says it's so powerful, that's why it's not releasing it to the public. Furthermore, during the internal safety testing, something particularly unsettling happened. Mythos was placed in a sandbox, which is a virtual security environment, and they asked it whether it could escape. Now, it did. And when it did, it went one step further. And what it did, it emailed researchers, it documented its own exploit, it basically publicly made this information publicly accessible on websites. And now it's that behavior, that is why Anthropic doesn't want to release it to the public just yet.
That is very alarming. Makes me think of Skynet and Terminator for any of you fans of that movie. So anyway, if Anthropic isn't going to release it publicly, what do they plan to do with it?
Well, Anthropic has essentially decided to limit the release to just a few technology and financial firms, rather. So on Tuesday, it did roll out Mythos through an invitation-only initiative called Project Glasswing, with the idea of total visibility and no hiding. So the AI tool goes to more than 40 tech and finance companies, including Google, Microsoft, and Apple. Now, these organizations will use Mythos as part of their defensive security work to find and patch flaws in critical systems before the hackers do. And Anthropic plans to share the findings so others can benefit from it. So many of these companies already use so-called penetration exercises in which they hire specialists to probe their systems for bugs. And Anthropic is backing this project with $100 million in usage credits and $4 million in donations to open source security projects, but the clock is ticking. Its own team suggests it could just be months or a couple of years before developers develop something else similar to Mythos. OpenAI is reportedly already working on something similar.
In all of this, there's the idea that AI can be weaponized against financial systems, right, Charlotte? That's triggered this extraordinary response from regulators.
Exactly. On Thursday, we heard from the U.S. Treasury Secretary and Federal Reserve Chair. They both summoned all the Wall Street leaders for an urgent meeting. There we had chief executive officers from Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs. Then on Friday, the Bank of Canada convened a similar gathering with the country's major financial institutions. So regulators are genuinely concerned here that more powerful AI models would give rise to this new type of cyber attacks targeting these financial institutions, and they want the banks to get ahead of it.
So what does this mean for you and me, for everyday people who might use AI for their online banking?
Well, some security experts are calling this a call to action, saying it was only a matter of time before we got here. The general consensus is that a Mythos-like model will eventually hit the public sooner rather than later, whether that's through a controlled release, a rival company, or open source development. The question is whether defenders can use this current window that's been given to patch up enough of these vulnerabilities before that happens. So the optimists, they're saying that the Glasswing project is great, it gives defenders a chance to contain this risk, but the pessimists, rather, they're saying that we're essentially asking the company that developed the so-called most dangerous AI to date, we're asking that company to now mark us safe from it. But what is undeniable here is that Mythos has forced and sped up this conversation that powerful AI is here, and what happens when the capabilities outpace our ability to govern it.